Oh, that is exciting.
I
Yes.
know. Week in Vegas.
I mean, Vegas is your spiritual home, Nicola, isn't it? You did say that you would retire there and wear sort of fluffy mules. Do you remember?
Yeah, unsuitable
Yes.
pantsuits and lots of diamonds and fluffy mules. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Well, hello Judith, how are you this week?
I'm all right, Nicola. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm having a rather stonking week. So I'll try start this week then?
Yes, do. If it's stonking, let me hear it.
Okay, all right. Well, as you know, it's Steve Watson's birthday today, our former colleague in the Money Gym. And I'm not actually sure how old he is, but he's younger than me, I know that much. And it reminded me of the day exactly 5 years ago when I got on a plane to Greece. Our world had fallen down around us, really.
Yes.
Yeah. And that happened on, I think it was the 11th of January. And then I got on a plane to Greece on the 18th of February. And I remember it because it was Steve's birthday. And it sort of helped in a way, but then it also sort of was running away. And I know why the footballers' wives do it now, because it does reboot your hard drive. But I was thinking of, how far we've all come in 5 years and how grateful and thankful I am for that, because that wasn't a great day, really. And but the good news is I've been booked to speak in Vegas at a top-level mastermind.
Oh, that is exciting.
I know. Week in Vegas.
I mean, Vegas is your spiritual home, Nicola, isn't it?
Well, it's, to some degree it is. I've always admired the spirit of the Mormons that trek.
But you did say that you would retire there and wear sort of fluffy mules. Do you remember?
Yeah. Unsuitable clothing, unsuitable pantsuits, and lots of diamonds and fluffy mules. Yeah, exactly. But it's great fun. So I've got to book my flight and everything to that later, which will be nice. And yes, lots of top level people. I met quite a few on the cruise, but there's going to be even more there. Household names in the internet marketing world. So that'll be very
exciting. When is it approximately?
It's in early May.
Okay.
Just after my own mastermind, in fact, which is at Gatwick. Not quite so glamorous.
No. Shall I tell you a Vegas-related little story?
Oh, I'd love to hear one.
My friend Nicola, who you know, so you're Nicola and my friend is Nicola, I'm driving her to Gatwick on Saturday, I think it is, and fetching her the following Friday. She's going to a 50th birthday party in Vegas.
Oh, marvellous. Whereabouts? Which hotel?
I don't know, but I'll let you know next week.
Oh, do get all the details out of her, and do wish her my very best, won't you? Because I haven't seen her in a long time.
It's not her 50th, it's one of her friends.
Oh, that's very exciting. I wonder which hotel. Yeah, I do love Vegas, especially when you're flying in and you come across all that desert and you realise that those poor old Mormons back in the day had to trek across it in their sort of little horses and carts fighting off the Indians every step of the way, and then they found that little the little spring in the middle of the desert, and they decided to set up their camp there, and that's how Vegas started. I love that story. I must be the only person who's ever been to the museum in Las Vegas.
Because you don't hear that story often, that's true. In fact, I don't think I knew it was the Mormons. I knew that the Indians were into gambling, but there you go.
Yeah, no, I think the Mormons arrived there to try and stop the Indians gambling. That was the whole point. That failed miserably, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, yeah, there we go.
So I've also spent the weekend deep in tech, the like of which I've never seen for a long time.
Yes, now there was a lot of, you did rather tease us on Facebook by saying that, and then there was a lot of speculation about what you were actually doing, but I don't ever recall seeing the answer.
Well, it was very funny because I put that little thing in, just, I came up for air for 5 minutes, had a whiz through Facebook timeline, put a little thing in saying I'm, deep in tech. And then everyone, because I didn't comment for a while after that, everyone thought perhaps I'd disappeared or exploded my brain or something.
And Carrie thought you were just screwing on a new oven door.
Yes, that was way beyond my capabilities, that one. So I had to get a man round for that one. No, what I was doing was, it might be of interest to our readers, was I was following James Schramko's Own the Racecourse concept, which I've always been a big fan of, which is that you must control everything where your marketing and business assets are. And of late, I've been rather sort of slack about that, in the fact that I've used things like Lead Pages, which is absolutely marvellous. I love Lead Pages. And it's got a very interesting feature coming soon, which I'll tell you about in another episode, that we'll be using in our podcast. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to move my membership content out of this subfolder on Business Success Factory, because I want to move the Business Success Factory to WP Engine hosting, which will speed it up dramatically, which helps with search engine results and also enables, ease of use for your visitors. But I can't do that till the subfolder members has gone. And so I thought this is a time to move my membership content onto a forum setup rather than the old Optimized Press wish list setup. Why would I want to do that when it looks so horrible compared with Optimized Press? Well, the thing I've realized is that, having lurked about in some forum-based membership sites now, I've realized that the wealth of content that is on offer to a membership person is much more visible in a forum setup. For some reason, these lovely graphically designed membership areas that everyone's been using, they're very clean and very clinical, and they don't distract the person from the training, but they actually don't show the wealth of content that most people have got. So I've decided to move over to a forum concept and see how I go with that. And I got a quote for setting it up, and it was $1,500 minimum. Ooh, so I thought, it can't be that hard, can it? So once I had a false start with trying to put it on WP Engine, which turns out to be a hosting company that doesn't support PHP forum and bulletin board. So I had to then start with some new hosting, day 2. So it really took up my whole weekend, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and I got there in the end.
So that actually, there was a question I wrote down on my notes here to ask you, and then you've sort of answered it. My question was, so should we be moving, for the reasons you described, to WP Engine hosting? Yes, as long as you don't want a PHP-based forum.
Yeah, exactly, because it only does WordPress.
But you're saying it's faster and a better user experience.
And brilliant service.
Ooh, that sounds very, very appealing. I don't like my hosting company. Now you've just given me a new one. That's excellent.
Well, it's actually very reasonable to move to WP Engine just for one website, and it only goes up if you want 3 websites. It goes up to $99 a month if you want 3, but I think it's around $20 a month if you want one website, and that is double what the cheap ones. But the security's better. They do an automatic backup every night, so if anything happens, you can roll it back. You're less likely to get hacked. It's just so much faster. But you are only allowed to use WordPress on it.
That sounds nice.
Yes. Well, nicolacairncross.com/WP Engine, if anyone's interested in checking it out.
Okay.
So how much can you divulge of your week? Because you gave us some.
Well, you remember last week I said that I'd had to make the hardest decision of my life, and that today I'd be able to let you know whether it had paid off or not. I can't, unfortunately. There's a further delay, but next week I will be able to tell you. I find out the answer on Friday morning. So I'm going to keep secretive about that for the moment, but when I know the outcome, I'll let everybody know. The other two things this week over and above that is I've started blogging again. And I've got a list of 9 or 10. I've done one already this morning, and I've got probably a couple in me for later in the day. That feels good. So it's like I've unstopped the drain somehow. And I had this genius idea. I often wake up with ideas of offering myself out to the world to be a small business expert on other people's platforms where they wanted to have either phone-ins or type-ins. I don't know what the word is for that. But
chat. Online chat.
Online chats, yes. And Sue O'Kell passed it out to her internet marketing mates. And you put me in touch with a woman, Sarah, who we've hooked up. Not quite the same proposition, Sarah, but I would love to, I know everything about being self-employed, and particularly if a person is working at home on their own. And I would love to reach more people doing that. And so it occurred to me that the way to do that would be to offer myself in that capacity on other people's, online platforms, excuse me, where they have a solopreneur, entrepreneur, solo business owner focus, and maybe I could be available for, a phone-in once a week or something like that. So I'm looking for opportunities for that. So if anybody listening can think of one, put me in touch by all means.
Yeah,
they're my three things from this week. What's fueled your fire, Nicola?
Well, it might be an answer to your last point, actually. I've been listening to a new podcast because the podcasts that I love so much are rather infrequent now. And even my favourite one, Reply All, which is a product of the Gimlet Media stable who produce Startup. Reply All and Startup were doing one a week, and they seem to have slowed down now. And Gimlet Media is actually taking a break from Startup, so I've got a whole couple of months to go without that one. So I've been hunting for other podcasts, and one of the ones that I actually haven't slept very well with A House Full of Teenagers because they tend to come in at 3 a.m. and things like that. So and leave the lights on. So I end up waking up, and the only way I can get back to sleep is by listening to a podcast. So I was listening to one called Instructions Not Included, which has got a really nice, it's by someone called Ryan something, I can't remember, but if you go and just search Instructions Not Included, a startup story, and it's a chap who is doing rather well in Australia in property, but he has got a friend who's making money online, and he wanted to make money online himself, and he had a rather disastrously failed website trying to do that a few years ago, went back to his property thing, and he's now re-podcasting his startup story of starting from scratch online. And it's really very nicely done. It's got, music in the background noise and all that stuff, all sort of new style. Inspired me at 5 o'clock this morning. I decided to start podcast number 3, Judith, called...
Oh, my God.
I know, but this is going to be a different one again, which is going to be just me chatting about a word for 5 or 10 minutes. I've been running a survey for about 2 years now of what's the one thing that's holding you back from getting started online, and tell me your challenges. And I've got quite a wealth of material in there. If I just went in and picked a word, like focus, I could just talk for 5 or 10 minutes about that and try and help people get started online, because so many people just don't get started for a long time. And I was just thinking that could be something you could do, have a podcast where it's just you chatting for 5 or 10 minutes about...
I could, but I love the clients. And in fact, one of my conditions of the offer that I've made is that I would want to be live with the clients, either typing or speaking. Yeah. I don't know what I know until I'm with the clients.
Yeah, good point.
And I do love the clients. But I think there are lots of platforms out there who've got all these members, and they're thinking, how can we be of more service to them? Maybe even a paid level of service, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And it's a great idea, because there's a lot of success-orientated membership sites, isn't there, where they could actually probably do with a bit of practicality thrown in.
Yes, exactly. So I like your idea, though, because I think you can chat by yourself. I like ours because it's a conversation, and I like to be in conversation with the end user as well, with the client.
Yeah. Well, I'll see, but the thing is, it dovetails rather nicely into, obviously, clicksandleads.com is my Facebook service. I've decided to call the membership site, the new membership site, clicksleadsandsales.com. So I was thinking, how can I get content for a blog on clicksleadsandsales.com, because I'm not really enjoying writing that much at the moment. But I thought if I just did lots of quick podcast episodes, they would... and did them with slides, just a slide that got the word on it, that would go straight onto YouTube. Then the audio would come out and go onto the podcast, and I could fire it straight off to that transcription service, and that would create a blog post. So 5 minutes of chat, and I've created 3 bits of content.
Yes, perfect.
So what's fueled your fire then, Judith?
Yesterday and today, actually, was a beautifully sunshiny day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was lovely yesterday.
And I put a little innocent comment on Facebook, as you saw, what a lovely day it is in London. How is it where you are? And where are you, by the way? And 38 people replied to me telling me what the weather was like where they were. And it was mostly nice wherever they were. There were a few exceptions. And 21 of those replies came from England, but 16 of them came from the rest of the world. They came from Spain, Muscat, Ireland, Jersey, Austria, Madrid, Miami, France, South Africa, Connecticut, USA, Italy, Scotland, Queensland, Australia, and Canada. And I cannot ever get over the excitement of having a truly global online business where my clients who I talk to on Skype are as far-flung as New Zealand. In fact, you can't get any further from England than New Zealand. And yet I can't quite get over, even though I'm an international traveller and I've crossed the international date line millions of times and blah, blah, blah. I never get over the thrill of this truly global online village that we work in, and that when I spoke last night at 7:30 my time to New Zealand, which was 8:30 the next morning her time, and she's saying good evening Judith and I'm saying good morning Andrea, I can't quite get over the thrill of it. It's just I understand it logically, but emotionally I just find it endlessly fascinating. And to have, the whole game with Facebook and social media is engagement. To have engagement with so many international countries, with so many people on such a tiny little topic as what's the weather like where you are, and where are you, by the way, I just loved it. It's innocent fun. I remember Mark Shaw, the Twitter expert, always used to begin the day with, it's cloudy in wherever he lived, how is it where you are? And you just get a hail of engagement, really. And you can't ordain what people are going to talk to you about. And you think, the weather, how dull. But actually, it isn't dull. 38 people wanted to tell me that mostly it was nice where they were as well.
Any Facebook marketer would be hanging their head in their hands now, because it's absolutely ironic and annoying that an innocent question about the weather could get 38 responses, whereas to get any kind of engagement on anything business orientated is nearly impossible.
Well, I think, you see, it's the same thing, because quite a lot of new clients say to me, I love what you put on Facebook. And they're not saying I love you talking about the weather, but they're saying I love what you share and I love what you demonstrate of your personality and humour by doing that. And so for me, even though it's ostensibly about the weather, it's not really about the weather. It's about joining hands around the world. And I love that.
I totally agree with you. I find it endlessly astonishing as well. And my sister's about to get on a plane in New Zealand and she'll be back here next Thursday. I just find the whole international travel thing absolutely amazing. When I went to America just recently, I'm going again soon, I went in October. It's like America's suddenly become like Brighton.
Yes.
but a bit more tedious in between.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So have you got a good meaty client challenge of the week for us?
I think I have. I don't know whether it's meaty. It might be more sort of, we might have to do a bit of sort of imagining, actually. Okay. There's a lot of, what I notice in amongst my clients in my two groups is that, I don't know what this syndrome's called, you'll probably remember, is that we all have the same problem at the same time, simply by dint of the fact that we're connected. And this week's challenge is, why am I doing this again? What's my big why? And people are going back to basics and first principles. And it's quite difficult to help a client if they don't have an answer to, what do you really, really love? Why what's your thing? Lucy Whittington, as you know, wrote a book called Find Your Thing. I've got my copy on my desk here. Why am I doing this is the question. And I think there are simple, practical reasons why we're being self-employed and setting up a business, like I want to pay my bills, I want to look after my family. And there are big ones like freedom, to be of service to others, to be creative, to make a difference in the world. But what's your big why, Nicola? What are typical big whys that you see? Reasons why, there's got to be a big why, hasn't there? It's not enough just to pay your bills, I think, because that's the same as a job.
Yes, the same survey that I mentioned earlier has got a lovely, Google Docs has got some really nice touches, and one of the ones is that you can do a summary of your survey responses, and it puts it into a nice bar chart. And I was just looking at the bar chart yesterday actually, and it's number one is financial freedom. Number two is financial freedom was number one. Number two was the ability to help others, whether they mean family or people out in the world. And number three, I think, was to keep active, to keep occupied, to keep engaged. Because there's a lot of people. I mean, some of my clients are financially free, and I spoke to one yesterday he's retired. He's a gold and silver trader. He's in Australia. He's rebuilding a catamaran. Talk about an exciting project. And it's a very specific kind of catamaran, so beautiful for search engines. And he's then going to sail it around the world with his wife. And he wants to take 2 GoPros and fix them on the boat. And he doesn't need to. He said to me, in fact, he said, I do sometimes stop and think when I'm sanding down bits of wood and caulking hulls and getting everything ready. Why am I doing this?
Well, that's my question of the week. Why am I doing this? I think it's really important to know why, because otherwise, why would you? I think if you're starting a business and you don't know why, it's just going to fizzle out.
Yes. And I think knowing your core needs and values helps, because you remember that old Thomas Leonard Coach You thing we all did.
Yes.
One of my core needs was learning, and one of my core values was learning. So not only do I need to keep learning to feel alive, but I actually love learning. It makes my heart sing. So that's why I was doing the techie stuff at the weekend, because I love it.
Yes.
Learning new skills.
I think it's tricky. I mean, most of my clients, I would say 9 out of 10 have a big why. And the 10th one will say, I don't know. When I say, what is it you've always really, really, really wanted to do? They'll say, I don't know. And they believe they don't know. I don't believe they don't know. I think they do know deep down, but they daren't say to me, they daren't say to themselves in case it doesn't work or nobody wants it. And I don't think anybody believes that you can make a business out of the thing you would love to do. And I think increasingly the opportunities to make a business out of that are many.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got some amazing craft-orientated clients, haven't you? I love.
Yeah, and writers and artists and just creative people, really.
You definitely attract the creative people, whereas I seem to attract the consultants and adventurers.
I specifically targeted them. I've got quite a lot of adventures, actually, but when Sue Arkell helped me launch Club 100, I specifically said, business owners and creative types, because I'm a creative type, and not in terms of crafty stuff, but I like working with creators, whether it's the wealth profile creator or people who are creating things. We're all creating things, really, when we start our own business, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, again, one of the reasons why, because it gives, the thought of just trudging to a job, doing a job, coming home from a job, sitting on a sofa, eating, and then going to bed, and then waking up to trudge to a job, that just feels like absolute torture. Even the thought of it is absolute torture. It's like prison to me.
I think you can replicate that in your own first business if you're not careful, because that's all you know, and there is an assumption that it must be hard work, and the only hard work we know is the version you've just described, which is not very nice. The fact that you can have quite a lot of freedom and space, and a rope to hang yourself with, do you know what I mean? In terms of how you can get it wrong. But it's not the end of the world, is it? We don't die if we make mistakes.
No.
I think but I don't know how I would still be self-employed after 40 years if I wasn't motivated.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, this one, because as you know, I have a sister who does work for people, and she enjoys that work, but she doesn't want to work very hard. And I sometimes feel that when we shared a house, particularly, she'd be perhaps having a bath at 4 PM, whereas I'd be still at the computer. And it's different styles, do you know the story about the businessman who goes on holiday and finds the old man fishing thing, and he tries to persuade him to get a fleet of boats together so that he can ultimately retire and sit and fish? And it makes me, it sort of used to make me laugh, because Sarah lives the lifestyle that I theoretically aspire to, which is the life of financial freedom. But I know full well that if I was financially free, I would probably still be learning new stuff.
Well, you're more like the man that's rubbing down his wood and taking barnacles off his caulking or whatever you were talking about, aren't you? Which is, I always say, why do these people who've made it still work? I know I would tend more towards the Sarah. I would want to keep my handy because I would never want to lose touch with my clients, but I do applaud my clients very much, and this is a good week to be talking about it. When they have a life, it's a good week to be talking about it because, of course, it's half term, and all my clients who've got children have got no choice this week. Even the businessman I'm working with in my secret project at the moment, it's half term for him. I said, "Oh, where are you going with the family and the children?" And he shamefacedly admitted that he was going to Alton Towers or something. But it's got to be done, hasn't it, when you've got small children?
Well, I've got a good story for you. I went out with Phoebe on Saturday. She took me to the pictures and then bought me lunch, which was rather splendid. And it was quite funny, actually, because we ended up in a local coffee shop and there were 3 people in there that knew me. And she said, I thought you didn't know anyone round here. Actually, I know them all online. It's hilarious. But she said we were having, one of the people had 2 little boys and they were talking about Legoland. And he was, saying how essential it was that he went to Legoland very quickly before he became too old. And I said to Phoebe, God, Legoland, shudder. And funnily enough, the time I took them to Legoland, Irving and I, was when we'd just come back from Vegas. We won a weekend in Vegas through my local B&I. And we came back and we were off the plane, the red eye. and Irving had this idea to take the kids to Legoland. And it was utter hell because we were jet lagged. We were exhausted. The kids were overexcited from seeing us. But they had a lovely time at Legoland. Anyway, I was sitting in this coffee shop and I said, we took you to Legoland when we came back from Vegas that time. She said, did you? I said, yes, Phoebe, you've been to Legoland. She said, I didn't think we'd been anywhere like that. I said, well, that just shows what a monumental waste of time it was. I could have gone home and lied on the sofa and watched Disney movies with you and you'd been just as happy.
Well, at least your conscience is clear, Nicola. You've done a theme park. I've never done a theme park. I'm very proud to announce.
They're horrendous. I've always felt guilty that I never took them to Disneyland, but that guilt. That is my last guilt trip out the window now because they wouldn't have remembered if I had. So back to the why then. Let's recap.
Yeah. So let's go to the person who doesn't know their big why. Yes, I got you on the. True value, the core values, true needs and core values, whatever it is. I wonder if there's a book or a resource that I don't know anything. Are there any exercises that people can go through to help them work out, what their life's all about, what they're here for? Interestingly, I remember going to a workshop with Michael Neal and Robert Holden, and one of our gang was called up onto the stage. Not the person we thought it was, because there'd been a switch of tickets. So, person A was called out of a hat and wasn't there. So person B went on masquerading as her. And she said, I've come to discover my life purpose. And they looked at her like a madwoman and said, you're already living it. Whatever it is, whatever you're living, whatever you don't know this, but it finds you, a bit like your niche finds you. Yeah. Do you remember that book we were all in? You and me and Guy Levine and Chris Barrow and other people were in a book that Hannah McNamara wrote about coaches.
I do remember that, yes.
And there's this terrible focus when you're a coach at the beginning about finding your niche, and all of us said, "Oh, I didn't find my niche; it found me." But actually saying that to a client is quite difficult because it basically means, sit and wait and do the best you can, and the answers will come. But I'm not sure that's true if somebody doesn't know. Why? And I don't think you can sit with your head in your hands and a frown on your face and go, ooh, and force the answer to that. I think you have to do the things you love, get out and about, and if the big outdoors is what you love, get out. A bit like Sarah, have a bath at 4:00 in the afternoon. Do the things you love and let it dawn on you, what your life purpose is and why you're here.
Well, there's 2 things there. One that came up as I was listening to you saying that was about the any why will do. I mean, this is something I actually do with my clients on a VIP day is the core needs and values. And then we get to the why right at the end of the day, because after I've taken them through all the practical planning and goal setting and stuff, I want to get them in touch with their why again, because they're going to walk out the door and they're never going to touch that bit of paper again unless they've got a compelling why. And when I went to Rich's weekend, he had rediscovered his why, which was to help all the 95% of entrepreneurs who weren't taking action despite all his best strategies and tactics. And that was his why that he'd rediscovered. So, the why has to be bigger than you. It's got to be about helping other people, leaving a legacy. And you can't even think about doing that if you can't pay the bills. So why don't we just not look for the big, all-encompassing, be-all and end-all why? Why don't we just start with a few little whys and work up to the big one?
Yes, that's nice. I really liked Any Why Will Do. I could sing that actually to the theme from Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Any Dream Will Do. Any Why Will Do. Yeah, I think I like Any Why Will Do to start with. That's exactly the point. I think people. It's the thing. It's the metaphor I use every week on these. You can't stand on the edge of the pool and learn to swim. You've kind of got to get in amongst it. And again, momentum is its own reward by doing things which aren't quite right but are quite close. It gets clearer.
Yes, it does. And the thing is, it is, at the end of the day, once you get to the point where you're paying your bills, or even better, when you get to the point where you're financially free, you still need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. You still need otherwise you're going to be. That's what happens to people who either inherit or win a lot of money or become pop stars. That's why Robbie Williams used to sit in his house in Hampstead taking antidepressants and drinking. That's why, all of these movie stars end up doing drugs, and poor old Whitney, because they haven't got a why. They haven't got a reason that's bigger than them. So they end up empty and lonely and wondering.
Yeah, I think I could help them with that, you see. It's a bit like the lottery winners spending all their money. I think I could help them with that as well. I think there's a lack of self-worth behind that, which is something you've always said, actually, about self-esteem.
Yeah, well, we've always said, haven't we? When we're in the money gym all those years ago, that it's all about self-esteem and if
it's amazing that you could have international global success on a phenomenal scale like Robbie Williams, but still feel like a worthless piece of
absolutely.
What? Yeah.
So, and there's the other thing is they say there's people who are lonely and depressed. If they start going out and start volunteering, then it gives them a bigger why.
Oh yes, I've done that. I've done that in the last recession. A little bit of volunteering. I agree, because actually, it's about service.
Because it's about meaning, isn't it? That's the ultimate thing. Humans, it's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? Self-actualization and meaning is at the top, not the bottom.
Yeah.
But you can't, and that's an interesting dichotomy as well, because so many people come up to me when I'm speaking and say, "Oh, my sister would love this," or "My father-in-law needs this," or I wish my uncle was here. No, concentrate on yourself first, because you can only help others once you're in a good position yourself. You can only pull down the oxygen for your children on a plane. Oh my God, I shouldn't be saying that, having just about to book one. If you've got oxygen yourself,
Yeah.
But then once you've got the oxygen, go looking for other people to give it to.
Yes, I think what is fascinating as well is how many people you see that we, follow online and we love, who do have the same cloudy uncertainty when they start, but they start anyway, and other opportunities and unexpected twists and turns come in, and it leads them into a new direction, and then they go, oh, of course. It doesn't, I don't think, we've got to get going anyway. I think that's the thing, and allow the space for the big why to occur to you. A bit like Rich Heffron, it didn't occur to him at the beginning, or maybe it did, and he had a different big why at the beginning, and now he's got another one. It's not the be all and end all, and as we discovered on that conference, it's already found you just haven't noticed.
Yeah, he started out trying to help, the 5% who do take action with better strategy and tactics, and now he's turned attention to the 95 that, despite that, still can't take action.
And interestingly, I quite like the 95. I'm with him a bit.
Well, but he had to get to the place where he could. He's not involved in his business on a day-to-day basis in order to be able to have the crisis of meaning that he went through. Of what's his life really all about, in order to be able to turn his attention to the 95.
Yes, and actually now that I hear you talking, a crisis of meaning isn't anything to do with business. It's about our lives, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, cycling back to the fact that 5 years ago I got on a plane not knowing what I was going to do next, having had what I thought was my life's work taken away by circumstances beyond all our control. It's taken, I spent 2 years probably in mourning for that life's purpose leaving me. And then it took me another year or two to find my new one. But I never stopped doing stuff in the meantime. I just kept trying on different things and trying on not different whys. The first why was to pay the bills again. But after that, it was, what can I do that I will really enjoy, that will make a profound difference to people's lives, that I can earn money for? It was like a Venn.
And my looking at your story is actually you're already much more interested in the internet than you were in the money. So that seems perfect to me.
Yes, and
However painful, rebirth, can involve a little bit of pain, perhaps.
Yes, and I do recall you did ask me one time just before it all went thingy, what would you do if you were, never had to work again? And I said, I'd go and pay money to work with a big guru and just spend all my time teaching people how to make money online.
Yeah. And guess what?
Careful what you wish for. Oh.
Yeah.
But first, a word from our sponsors. This week's episode was sponsored by Audio Jungle. To get some immediate atmosphere for your website or your recordings, go to ownitthepodcast.com/Audio Jungle.
Right, so let's move on, because we could talk about this forever. Word of the week, you go first.
Oh, well, I've got a good word of the week this week, audio, because we've had some of your listeners saying to you that they're not very keen on the background noises. One of the things I most love in the podcasts I listen to are the atmospheric bits, and I'm very fascinated to know when people fade them in, fade them out, etc. But someone came up with a great idea. They're a bit sick of, they don't like the cafe, they don't like the restaurant, they're not very keen on the road background noises. So I would like to invite our readers to send in nice background noises. For example, quacking ducks.
I was going to say bird song. Can you hear my bird song now?
Yeah. Well, I need 1 to 2 minutes of an MP3, and if you send in a nice background noise, it could be horses, it could be kids playing in a playground. I don't care. We'll consider anything. And I just need 1 to 2 minutes of it on an MP3, and you can record that on your phone. Every smartphone's got a simple recorder, and then you can just email it to me. And do email in.
How would you like people to send it in?
Oh, Nicola at nicolacairncross.com. Send it as an MP3 attachment to an email. It will go quite nicely. And do send your name and your website address if you'd like us to mention it.
Okay, very nice.
So let's get some interesting background noises. Waves crashing on the beach, that sort of thing.
That one would be a favourite for me.
Yes, it would be nice. Whale song.
I call that whale bonking music.
Well, I could go and just buy some, but I'd really rather we involved our readers in this because they're the ones who have to listen.
You're calling them readers, they're listeners, darling.
Oh yes, sorry. My visual side coming out there accidentally. What about you? What's your word of the week?
My word of the week is vital.
Vital?
Yeah, it means two things. The sense in which my clients use it is to mean essential.
Yeah.
But actually it also means vibrant, full of life, lively. And in terms of your vital organs, it means essential for health and life. And I notice every time I use the word vital in response to them, that they're thinking it means sort of emergency and important and paramount, and I must crack on with this, it's vital. And I keep thinking of the broader context of actually it's essential to your health and well-being, and it means lively and full of life, vibrant. And I much prefer that meaning, but I think they both go hand in hand. I do have a little dictionary definition here. Hang on, caller.
Good sound effect, by the way.
Yes, absolutely necessary or essential is the sense in which my clients seem to most often use it. But the second meaning is full of energy and lively. And that's the sense in which I often use it. And it also means the body's most important internal organs. But I like lively, energetic, active, sprightly, spry, animated, spirited, because I'm always trying to persuade people to have a life, at the same time as building their business, because I think we can get a bit heads down, one-dimensional and quite dreary and risk poorly and risk life passing us by until such time as we're financially free. And I think that would be a terrible waste.
The journey's the thing.
Well, I want people, vivacious, exuberant, bouncy, enthusiastic, vibrant. That's going to make you so much more dynamic, sparkling, and vigorous. It's going to make you much more attractive as a business owner anyway, and drawing people to you. So it's an energy. There you go, full of energy and lively. So vital is my word of the week in that second, bigger sense.
Very nice indeed. Okay, so who or what's impressed you this week?
Well, I think this is quite interesting because we've had an interim conversation this week, you and I, and personally, where you were giving me some advice. And last Saturday was Valentine's Day, and I received an email that said, hang on, psst, subject line, psst, you have a secret admirer.
Oh,
I know. And extraordinarily, it was an email from my accountant who I went in 1995. I advertised in the accountancy press for a partner because I was getting tired of doing it all by myself. And I met this bloke, Roland, who we didn't go into partnership, but we've been working alongside one another since 1995. And in fact, he's now my accountant, and he's the accountant to quite a lot of my clients. But he turned 60 recently and got married, which is quite a nice duo, isn't it? I mean, he looks like a much younger man, and he can cycle miles. He's very fit. But he retired. He sort of semi-retired, got married, and merged his practice with another central London firm. And on Saturday, they stuck all of us into contact and sent us an email. And it says there's quite a poor sexist joke on the first page, but the second page says, "We love our clients." Now, you know, this is a digital communication on Valentine's Day from a firm of accountants saying that they love us. And, you know, I always put love at the centre of my work, and I know quite a lot of people go, that's a bit, you know, hello, I'm not sure we want your love, Judith. And it divides the world a bit. But, you know, this is surprising and delighting your clients. I think, considering they're accountants, it's more exceptional than any other sort of business, frankly, because accountants are known for being quite dry and dull. So, a digital Valentine's card from my accountants.
I've never found a dull accountant yet. I love them.
Well, no, I know it's a misnomer, but there are plenty of them, trust me. But a digital love letter from my accountants to all of us is unexpected. It is marketing. It is demonstrating that and saying that they love us. I think it's thoughtful and simple and easily done. But what a good little idea.
Yeah, lovely, especially as accountants aren't known for their digital marketing.
No, there you go. What about you?
5 stars from me on that one. I'm afraid it's another podcast. I'm obsessed with Justin, don't know his second name. It's called Build and Launch. And the reason I started looking at it was because every time I go to check our podcast, which is still riding high in new and noteworthy, still in the top 10.
We can't have much longer in there, Nicola, because we're 8 weeks old, aren't we?
Well, apparently it's new and noteworthy, not just new. It's new or noteworthy, not just new and noteworthy. So fingers crossed we linger a bit longer. But Justin, with his beard, his Nordic beard, I know you're a big film of noir, Nordic noir crime thriller.
Yes, I am.
Well, Justin looks like he comes out of one of those. He's got a Swedish kind of hat, a big full beard, and he looks very, very dour indeed. He looks like, if it wasn't in colour, it would look like it's come out of a crime noir thing.
So what you're saying is he's got a good face for radio.
He's got a great face for radio, but actually he's a really lively character. And
judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, and the other thing I've realised is a bit like television shows, unless I watch from episode 1, I'm not interested. I find it very difficult to get into things, episode 2 or 3, series 2 or 3 and go backwards. So I'm quite keen on finding new podcasts where there's about 15 episodes and I can listen from episode 1. So it's like having a book, knowing there's more books to come. Yeah. So Justin, don't be put off by his dour exterior and his fierce beard and his dodgy hat. He's absolutely brilliant. And again, he's come from another podcast, a bit like the Alex Bloomberg of Startup. And so he's got a big audience, and he's just started this podcast. He's building and launching something every week. Now, again, I find that admirable because I'm an action-orientated kind of gal who some could be argued carries around a big bunch of bees in her bonnet, and when I get an idea, I have to absolutely put it into action or I go mad and drive everyone else mad around me. But Justin is building and launching something new every week. So the first week it was his podcast. The second week it was a book on how to use the website Product Hunt. Can't say it very easily. And who knows what week 3 is going to be. So it's software, it's digital products, it's podcasts, it's blogs. if you want to be impressed and inspired on how quickly you can get something up and selling, I think he made about $1,500 on his first digital book launch, which was just a how-to guide on Product Hunt. So very impressed with Justin.
I must say that if you had to build and launch something every week, that would lead to adrenal fatigue.